la paix sacrée et l'amour sacré de Dieu à vous. Une autre fois, voilà, c'est moi. Tout merci à Dieu. Une chose pour aujourd'hui. Je dois reconnaître. Je dois reconnaître. Ah, voilà. Euh, euh, dans ces choses, un peu d'anglais parce que c'est assez important d'expliquer ça plus directement. Première en français, après un peu en anglais, si Dieu veut. Première, je ne sais. La première, c'est ça. Shaitan. Toute personne, tout peuple, toute personne sont les enfants de Dieu. Toute personne. Et à la même temps, toute personne est Shaitan. À la même temps, toute personne. Ça ne fait rien. Qu'est-ce que c'est la classe, l'ethnique, le religieux. Toute personne, à la même temps, sont des enfants de Dieu et sont Shaitan. Et toute personne travaillant avec ça. Ça c'est la temptation. La définition de Israël. La définition de djihad, particulièrement anti-djihad. Toute personne travaillant avec son personne directement. Nous, tous de nous, travaillons avec nous, chaque personne. C'est le travail de vie. C'est le travail de cogito ergo sum. D'accord, n'est-ce pas? Ça c'est ça. Je pense que je peux le faire. Je peux le dire. Bien. Avec ça, nous pouvons savoir une chose importante. Ça c'est ça. Shaitan n'est pas mauvaise. Oh, hein? Shaitan n'est pas mauvaise. Pourquoi? Parce que Shaitan travaille pour Dieu. Pour une raison particulièrement. Mara, la temptation seulement n'est pas mauvaise. La chose qui est mauvaise est nous quand nous travaillons pour Shaitan, pour la tentation, pour Mara. Ça, c'est les choses qui sont... Ce sont les choses qui sont mauvaises. Quand nous travaillons pour Shaitan, pour Mara, pour la tentation. Ça, c'est la mauvaise chose. Shaitan n'est pas mauvais. C'est quand nous travaillons pour Shaitan. Ça, c'est la mauvaise. Et ça, c'est dans tout de nous. Toute la vie. Toutes les personnes. Quand nous travaillons, ça, c'est la mauvaise. Et puis en anglais, parce qu'il y a des autres choses, mais en premier de ça, simplement, directement en anglais, parce que ça c'est assez important. The devil, Mara, Shaitan, is not evil. Oh, careful. It is falling for, it is working for, it is enslavement to Shaitan, Mara, the devil, temptation, that is evil. As I said before, everyone is a child of God. Everyone is a child of God. Everyone is also the devil at the same time, à la même temps. And each of us is wrestling, working, striving, toiling with this. Everyone. Everyone. Regardless of how high and nice or low and nasty. Everyone is a child of God. Everyone is the devil. And everyone is wrestling with this as best we can. Everyone. Don't get it twisted. That being said, the devil is not evil. Oh, what am I saying? Shaitan, Mara, temptation, the tempter, it's not evil. What is evil is falling for it. When we acquiesce, when we take a bite of that temptation, selfishness, greed, hatred, delusion. C'est plus en anglais maintenant. Ça c'est tout. C'est important aussi dans chaque personne. La deuxième chose aujourd'hui, pour maintenant, c'est un étage grand, c'est une étape, étape, comme ça, n'est-ce pas, je pense. Assier les étapes, je pense, les étapes, et puis, c'est une grande étape, comme John Coltrane. Je veux jouer le track par Coltrane, mais si je le fais, je pense que les autres dans l'internet va vont être malheureusement. Et puis, c'est ça. Ça, c'est le confines de culture maintenant. Mais c'est ça. Ça, c'est comment dit-on, ça, c'est que nous devons acheter avec la technologie. Et puis, et aussi, c'est où nous marchons ici avec les idées, les choses pour aujourd'hui. La deuxième chose, c'est ça. La science. Maintenant, nous pouvons regarder que la science est Shaitan. Oh, Mara, temptation. Oh, faites attention, s'il vous plaît. Shaitan n'est pas mauvaise. Reconnaissez? La science est Shaitan. La technologie, toute la technologie est Shaitan. Pourquoi? Nous utilisons l'histoire, le narratif de Torah, Bereshit, beaucoup ici. Mais le même enseignement est dans le Bhagavad Gita, le Digha Nikaya, et les autres enseignements de les professeurs grands, les professeurs sacrés du monde. Et ça, c'est ça. Le narratif dans Bereshit, en Torah, explique ça. Il y a le arboretum. Je dois reconnaître le mot pour tree. Nous pouvons dire maintenant Ashvata. La Ashvata du monde. L'Ashvata simple. Ce n'est pas nécessairement l'Ashvata de siècle. Ça, c'est l'Ashvata du monde, de la terre, parce que c'est difficile maintenant pour moi de reconnaître le mot en français pour tree. Et puis je dis Ashvata. Ça c'est bon? Ça c'est d'accord. Dans l'histoire de Bereshit en Torah, il y a l'Ashvata. Et l'Ashvata de savoir. Et il y a l'instruction ne pas manger les fruits de savoir, de l'Ashvata de savoir. La science est l'Ashvata de savoir. Les choses que nous apprenons avec la science, faisons les choses incroyables. Si la science fait les choses incroyables. Des choses comme ça. Mais en même temps, ces choses incroyables ne fait pas. C'est nécessaire d'être suicidaire maintenant. Ici. Il y a beaucoup de types de savoir. De le savoir. Deux, type du savoir et le savoir de siècle. C'est ça le mot, n'est-ce pas? Siècle. Le savoir de siècle et le savoir de terre, le savoir du monde. Le savoir de Maya, comme Indien. Les deux types de savoir. Toute personne avoir le savoir de siècle parce que también, vraiment, toutes personnes sont les enfants de Dieu. Et d'être les enfants de Dieu, nous avons le savoir de siècle. Éternellement. Mais quand nous vivons dans le monde, beaucoup de temps, beaucoup de manières, nous oublions le savoir des siècles parce que c'est nécessaire d'avoir le savoir du monde. Et puis, nous prenons le savoir du monde et quitter quelques savoirs de siècle. La science est une activité de prendre le savoir du monde et à la même temps quitter le savoir de siècle. Le savoir du monde, le savoir du monde, enseigne à nous comment de prendre les choses dans le monde. Et comment les choses de le monde prendre à nous. Apprendre. C'est intéressant. Apprendre. Comment les autres dans le monde prennent les choses de nous. Ça, c'est que la science enseigne à nous. Le mot pour enseigner, pourquoi c'est difficile de faire reconnaître les autres mots pour ça? Les autres mots, simplement, un professeur, un autre mot simple pour ça. C'est intéressant, c'est très ironique. Fumer, la pollution fumée. C'est difficile. C'est la vie. C'est la vie, c'est la ville. Et puis, la science est une activité d'apprendre le savoir du monde. Et puis, c'est la tentation de quitter le savoir de siècle, le savoir d'amour, le savoir de vérité, de la vérité, le savoir de choses comme ça, et prendre le savoir de prendre les choses dans la terre, dans le monde. Et ça, c'est nécessaire en plus manière parce que nous devons manger dans la vie, dans le monde. Mais il y a des autres choses mauvaises qui se passent à le même temps. Ça, c'est très similaire. Espagnol. C'est très similaire de l'histoire de Bereshit, de la jardin. Parce que nous avons toutes les choses que nous besoinons dans la vie, sans la science. Mais c'est difficile parce que nous faisons les choses mauvaises en nous. Et puis nous trouvons pour le savoir du monde, le savoir de science, d'avoir les choses du monde entre nous, pour nous seulement. Balance. Comme j'ai dit, le même enseignement, la même vérité est dans les autres livres sacrés, les autres enseignements sacrés, les autres religions. Le Tao, vraiment le Tao. Le Bhagavad Gita, spécifiquement où? Le Bhagavad Gita. Dans le Bhagavad Gita, le même enseignement de l'expérience des jardins, la tentation. Les trois gunas, sattva, rajas, tamas. Rajas est le pursuit de les choses du monde. Et ça, c'est les choses qui donnent à nous l'expérience, malheureusement. Le même enseignement de la Bouddha, Mara, tentation. Et en même temps, faites attention, s'il vous plaît. Shaitan, Mara, ce n'est pas la mauvaise chose. Ça, c'est la tentation seulement. Et ça, c'est que nous ça c'est qu'est-ce que nous faisons quand nous expériençons les tentations. Et puis ça, c'est ça. La chose pour les sciences, c'est simplement de savoir que les choses comme ça, les technologies et les autres choses, c'est chétan, mais ce n'est pas mauvais. Ah, débat. Ça, c'est que qu'est-ce que nous faisons pour, qu'est-ce que nous faisons avec les technologies, les sciences et les choses comme ça. Quand nous utilisons ces choses, il y a des choses mauvaises nécessairement. Ça c'est la nature. La question est pourquoi? Pourquoi nous utilisons ces choses? Quand nous voulons l'expérience des jardins, c'est bon que nous savons, que nous connaissons que le jardin n'a pas la technologie. Ah, c'est nature. L'expérience des jardins n'a pas la science. N'a pas on peut-être. Parce que science, l'activité de trouver le savoir du monde, c'est naturel en sa vie. La question est combien et pourquoi. Et vraiment, l'expérience de jardin n'est pas Wi-Fi. N'a pas Wi-Fi. L'expérience de jardin n'a pas les voitures, les luminaires, les aéroplanes. L'expérience de jardin n'a pas ces choses. Et quand nous cherchons ces choses, plus à plus nous quittons l'expérience de jardin. Et quand nous le faisons, nous sommes malheureusement. Ça, c'est la nature. Et quand nous sommes plus malheureusement, beaucoup de temps, nous trouvons plus de choses de science, d'avant plus heureusement. Et le médecin est plus simple. Le médecin est naturel. Le médecin en fuego maintenant. Mais la médecin, c'est plus grand que nous. Inamaka. La terre-mère. L'eau. Le vin. La terre. La cour. La médecin avec nous maintenant. Le médecin dans nous maintenant. La question est qu'est-ce que nous allons faire? Qu'est-ce que nous allons faire? Qu'est-ce que nous allons faire? qu'est-ce qui se passe? Sur et sous. Ça, c'est qui est sourd. Haha! À côté de. Tout merci à Dieu. Nous étudions les enseignements de Haile Selassie pour un exemple des solutions et des autres professeurs, des autres enseignants des solutions. Nous étudions, nous pratiquons, nous utilisons, nous vivons. Le plus que nous pouvons. Le plus que nous pouvons. Chaque jour. Quand nous écoutons à nos frères et nos sœurs qui aussi travaillent du monde, de le bon de le monde, nous pouvons regarder, nous pouvons voir une idée simple d'expliquer comment nous marchons pour ça, comment nous travaillons pour ça. Et ça, c'est ça. Je dois utiliser English maintenant. Pockets. Investing in pockets. Letting go of systems, letting go of institutions, and investing in pockets. Pockets of epitome. Pockets of exactly what we espouse, what we advocate, what we promote, what we push, what we hustle, what we solicit others doing, system doing. It is too obvious. It's not happening through the system. It's not being the change. It's beyond being the change we want to be. Because Gandhi and whoever he got that from before him, Tolstoy or otherwise, are all working within the system. And the system was very different 100 years ago than it is at the moment. There are fewer places to be off the grid at this moment. To be the Buddha, to be Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The notion of and the ambition or the objective of conquering a nation or conquering the empires or whatever else, ce n'est pas la solution. La solution est pockets. Cultivating pockets of l'expérience de jardin. Whatever our beliefs are, whatever our religions are, whatever our tribal affinities are, establishing legitimate, sovereign pockets. It doesn't necessarily mean becoming a member of the United Nations and being involved in world affairs. Very much the nature of the pockets is withdrawn because part of the nature of the pockets is vulnerability. It's not having a fortress. There's no when you're looking at the basics of it, the militarism of it, how to protect one's family, one's women, children, and additionally the basics that liberals don't want to think about. They just presume, oh, we'll just call the military for that. call police for that. The very basics is just recognize when trying to do something different from the corruption of life, of civilization, it requires the very pragmatics of security, safety, from the potentates, but then also from the elements on the streets. And additionally, those are different natures, and they're employed very much by same peoples, but in different ways and different pretenses. So, talking about doing anything different than what's going on. I mean, first, just recognize like just being part of it is not the solution. It's not the solution. I mean, people can live that way for a certain while. People have lived that way for a certain while. It's unsustainable, and people know that, but then people are still drunk. So, hey, see what you get when I speak English. So, working through the system, there's a greater system. So that's the system we work within. It's like being in a brothel, and just say, okay, just make the best of it. Work through the brothel. That's exactly what this is. The United States is a brothel. It's even worse than a brothel, but that's what it is. And it's not just the United States. It's imperialism itself around the world. Corruption, just simple corruption, without hating. Just actual facts. It's corruption. And so we're just working through corruption, just being corrupt, and finding the most benevolent way of being corrupt. That's not it. And that's less and less convincing. The millennials don't believe that. If we're reverting to the Western parlances of generations, the millennials are the seventh generation of electricity. I'm part of the latter stage between millennials and whatever it's called, X generation. So the X generation, how do we put this? Okay, X generation knows that the system is not it, and wails against the system, and has some kind of and it's old now because you got these gray hairs. We got these gray hairs, but the X generation has this presumption, like this innate kind of like hope, at least back in those days, and I think it gets further and further tempered, but still this hope of being able to wail against the machine and change things, because it's coming from the X generation X comes from the experience of the Second World War and the dramatic changes that happened, particularly within the United States. The X generation comes from the experience immediately from the Civil Rights Movement, and additionally, and the perception of things further changing domestically. And so there's this ideological hope of like wailing against the machine and getting some changes, even just some compromises or whatever else. That's the mindset, but at the same time, kind of being like a rebellious kind of thing. That's a lot of the culture and the mindset of the Generation X within the United States, particularly. The millennials don't even buy that. The millennials opt out, and kind of like the 80s, kind of like just like, I don't care, do what I want to do, blah blah blah, and kind of like see it's bullshit, see that it's not wailing against the system isn't working, but go through the mechanics, whatever, just because of whatever immediate benefits can be provided at this moment, whether it's getting a job, whether it's getting sex, or whatever it is. Millennials have an increasing experience, or exhibit an increasing experience of nihilism, of just knowing the circumstances, but just not caring, not having the same kind of empathy or whatever that maybe the X generation has, in terms of still oh, we're fighting for a cause or something like that. It's just yeah, whatever. And now the new the seventh generation, whatever kinfolk are calling it these days, lack of creativity, how about that? Is oblivious, and has all this information and very little insight, genuine insight about truth, what's healthy and otherwise. And so, and what I experience is a gap, a chasm of communication, because in order to stay true, in order to find solutions, and additionally it requires leaving much of civilization, and getting some distance and studying and finding solutions, and then returning, finding out, oh, hold up, to convey these solutions requires a relationship, And it's like coming back after being an absentee father. Like, yo, what you talking about telling these children what to do? You ain't even been around. Where you been at? Da 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 da. Don't even worry about. It's not even a matter of like child support of it, but you just ain't been around. These children don't know you. How are they gonna trust you? Yeah, they're going through nasty shit or whatever. But why are they gonna trust you? You ain't been around. You might have all the truth in the world. Where you been at? Can't do nothing about that at this point. All I can do, all we can do, is share what we got as much as we can without pushing it too tough, but at the same time, not being too soft either. And just saying, oh, because that's often what parents do, particularly men, when men like come around and be like, okay, yeah, no, I got to take care of my kids. When it's a difficult thing. But what happens is often is that the father comes back, recognizes like the facts, even when he's left for and working on his things on himself, genuinely still that distance, that negligence, is serious. And so when he recognized that and recognized that he can't just like put down his foot and say what's what, because he don't carry that weight in the house because he ain't been there. And when he recognized that, and many men can try to overcompensate and ignore that and do it anyways, and then there's resentment or whatever else, as much as the man can impose power or whatever over the children in the family. But when a genuinely righteous man who does go through that learning process comes back and says, yo, I can't just put down my foot and that's it. Oftentimes what happens, he quiets up and he tolerates. And he recognizes the importance of him just being there, being a presence, providing further stability for the children because they need it as they mature and deal with things. They need that confidence. They need as much of that rock as possible. And he knows that. He knows that if he puts down his foot, it's going to be ultimatums, and it's going to be separation at some point, and that's going to be bad for the children one way or the other. If he doesn't put down his foot, his authority lessens. So anyways, that's one of the challenges. But at the same time, even in that experience, the man has to draw the line. And the man has to be like, yo, it don't matter. Like, we're not gonna tolerate this. Nah, you're gonna have to take off that fingernail polish, son. Take off that skirt, take off that pink shoes. That's not how we do. I don't give a fuck who do it. Nah. That's part of the difficulty of this moment. And whatever the consequences are accordingly, so we're talking about these solutions being pockets of the garden, being pockets of the epitome. It's not working through the system. It's not working through the corruption. There's a necessity of continually negotiating with the system. Again, it's not hating the system. It's not hating corruption. There's a pragmatic necessity. So we have to have the functionality. But at the same time, recognizing that where we invest ourselves, pockets, a house, a building, a campus, a village, small, big, whatever, a pocket where we genuinely live, optimally live in the way that we know is healthy, the way that we know is honest. Optimally independent and autonomous from the corruption, and not hating, not necessarily vilifying either, and not even endeavoring to conquer or otherwise. Just keep a distance. When it imposes itself, push back, stand up. Um, that's what we share a solution. So when we see kinfolk talking about migration and kinfolk talking about movements, and additionally, um, we share much of that sentiment, and we share encouragement concerning recognition of solution. We have our different ways, we have our different emphases and different priorities, and it's beneficial to continue to communicate and coordinate and cooperate with each other accordingly, at the same time to recognize the benefit of the pockets. Um, Cultivating pockets and connecting pockets. You could say pockets and sockets. Pockets and rockets would probably be somewhat antithetical. Pockets and dockets, ooh dee, depending upon the nature of the pocket, perhaps. Pockets and lockets. Anyways, whatever our beliefs are, whatever our relationship with creator, creation, all our relations, nature, pocket, and whatever cooperation with the system is basically a negotiation and compromise for the system, keeping a distance from the pockets. Keep your pollution to yourself. Oh, and I was talking about protection, the whole thing about the family, homestead, and everything. To recognize this in those pockets, to recognize that, um, like, it is a Pandora's box. The whole notion of protecting oneself, getting weapons to protect against the streets, to protect against police, to protect against militaries, to protect against paramilitaries, mercenaries, to protect against assassins, to protect against, like, the boogeyman, and that's no joke. The serial killers, pedophiles, cannibalists, cultists, uh, sistren who get out the mind and otherwise. Brethren not the mind, sister not the mind. There's necessity of protection amidst all these predatory nisses. But at the same time, the way weapons are today, it requires a whole lot to have a just a middle ground or a mid-level amount of weaponized protection. And even then, in being able to secure it at the moment, there's the necessity of ammunition, there's the necessity of maintenance, there's the necessity of replacement, either replacement parts for repair, or after a while, a number of years, when weapons become non-functioning. And so all of that requires reliance, dependence upon suppliers, factories, a methodology of production that is often outside of the pocket that one lives in. And so one becomes very dependent on those supply lines. And those supply lines most often don't have the same ideology within the pockets. Even the kinfolk that talk about big guns and everything else like that, very often don't have the same ideology. There might be an American libertarianism, and additionally, but when it comes down to actually day-to-day living and ethics, it's grind, it's selfishness. It's like, your woman looks pretty, kind of situation. I don't care. Amidst the white supremacists, amidst the black supremacists, whatever the ideology is, when kinfolk don't have basic ethics, even within the fold, they can draw attention to antagonism outside, but even within, it's corrosion and corruption. And very often when kinfolk are very big about the big guns and everything, there can be a lot of propaganda and flag waving, But at the same time, kinfolk ain't living by ethics that are strong within. And again, that's very susceptible to um, betrayal, corrosion, and otherwise. So, point here is that weapons, stockpiling weapons and everything else, ain't that. If that ain't it, it requires a next level, a whole nother level kind of game. And that requires connecting with the powers beyond the earth. Whoa, now we're talking crazy. Exactly. You don't know what it's about. Ain't no words for it ultimately. But at the same time, there is efficacy. There is cause and effect. There is a relationship. And there are powers that exist beyond the powers that be. The powers that be know this. The powers that be have a knowledge about this. Don't have powers that be have less wielding of those greater powers, but can evidence, can see where those powers are influenced within this earth, how those powers are influenced within this earth, the teachings from the ancients that share. And again, it doesn't come from like, oh, let me do this magic spell and like cause a cloud or whatever. I'm not saying that's how it works. I'm not saying it's not how it works. I don't have that knowledge, and I have guidance to avoid those types of guidances or those types of practices. But what I am saying is that there are teachings, and it's basically very simple. It's living honest, modest, fair, just, loving, giving, and additionally, there are tremendous powers, the angels, the heavens, the world, nature, the birds, the insects. Yo, the insects are boss. The insects are boss. Humanity ain't got nothing on the insects. You think I'm tripping? Mosquitoes, malaria, what's happening? Virus, what's happening? Diseases, infestations, plagues, what's happening? So anyway, recognizing just in establishing pockets, there is benefit of being trained, being fit, knowing some Brazilian jiu-jitsu brasileiro, knowing some of the basics, having some basic skills, teaching, training brethren to have basic skills of walking the roads of creation, walking in the wilderness, the forest. But at the same time, recognizing that further investment is prudent in a knowledge, remembering knowledge of the heavens. And it's not a selfish motivation. It's not for a quid pro quo, but it's understanding that this is part of the nature of life and the nature of self-preservation in this life. Because going to the tree of knowledge has its limitations. Mathematics, calculus, asymptotes, and infinity. The power that is within you at this moment. Pockets. So you can sit and think about that. Sit and feel it. Sit and view it around you, in your house, in your hood. Sit and watch how it is infringed upon. Sit and watch how it grows naturally. We just had rains this past day. There's green grass and green leaves around. There are a whole lot of crushed stones to make the ground flat and hard so that rubber wheels can move fast from one place to another outside of vision. And in the meanwhile, kicking up a lot of dust, a lot of fabricated microscopic dust, plastic. Anyway, those are encroachments, those are pollutions, those are impositions upon the pockets. And when we talk about protection, when we talk about security, recognize that when we attune ourselves to a cause, with a cause, in a cause, through a cause of truth, there is a resilience and there's a genuineness where we negotiate like the Amish, like Oroville, like other entities of religious nature, of spiritual nature, negotiate with the governments and the powers that be, the militaries, and say, yo, we are beings on this earth. We have legitimacy. We provide a benefit that you need and that others need. We need our space. We need this, our space. We need our space. Away from the pollutions, away from the impositions, away from the corruptions, to be us. And then be that. Let go of the Mickey D's and all the niceties that are not necessities. And hold on to the things that are healthy. And to beings that are healthy. Anyways, I'm getting onto the spiel at this point. But pockets, and then connecting the pockets. Some pockets may be further wired than others. And so we each find our balance. We each find our homeostasis. That is genuine, according to our own respective natures, our own respective ideologies and teachings, traditionally, ancestrally, and prophetically, and recognize the higher priorities of peace, well-being, reconciliation, and continually concentrating and devoting ourselves, devoting ourselves to that cause, to that truth, to that peace, to that healthiness. Might have to think of another word for healthy. Oh, there. English. Beauty. Meanwhile, again. Bien, again, oui, n'est-ce pas? C'est ça. Tout Dieu, tout merci à Dieu, l'amour sacré et la paix sacrée de Dieu à vous. L'amour sacré et la paix sacrée en Rastafari.